Hi, this is James Cook with Midcoast Maine Indivisible, and I'm here to talk about actions for the week of April 9th through April 16th. So, we're about to have a congressional recess, and that means that our members of Congress are not going to be actively considering legislation during that period. What does that mean? It means that instead they are somewhere in the state. Where exactly, we don't know, because they're not really forthcoming with that information for their own constituents. But there are things we can do, and at Midcoast Maine Indivisible there are things that we are doing. So I'm going to suggest 3 actions, and they're really important. The first one is to show up. Saturday, April 15th, 2 to 4 p.m. in Thomaston, Maine, we're having what's called a tax march. It's one of hundreds of tax marches around the country, and these are not marches in which we are upset about our own taxes. We're upset about the fact that, unlike every other modern president, Donald Trump has not released his tax returns. There's something he's hiding, we don't know what, but he is not acting presidential. And so we are going to gather at 2 p.m. at the corner of Beechwood and Star Streets. That's just a little bit north of Route 1. And I want you to bring your signs. I want you to bring your noisemakers. You bring your drums. Bring your indignation. Also bring your civic pride, because this is a chance for us to demonstrate not only how upset we are that Donald Trump is not acting like a president, but it's a chance to show that we are the face of reasonable America. And that means, of course, we're not going to be trashing anything. Of course, we're not going to be spitting on anyone or behaving in a rude fashion. We're going to be Americans who are upset. We are the reasonable ones. They are the unreasonable ones. And it's that spirit that I want you to hold in your heart. Now, we are going to have fun. We are going to sing songs. We are going to use a few euphemisms here and there. It's going to be a good time. But, of course, we're going to show our best side while we reveal Donald Trump's, well, it's hard to say it's his worst side, because there are so many worst sides, aren't there? But I want you to come to that tax march. Action number 2 for the week. I want you to be proud that you're coming, but I want you to do more than that. I want you to double the size of the Thomaston tax march. How can you do that? It's simple. Each one bring one. That means you, and I mean you, find someone who isn't planning to come to the tax march and tell them about it and convince them about it. You've got about 6 days now, as I'm recording this on Sunday, April 9th. Maybe as you see this, you have a few fewer days, but that's enough time. Find someone who's upset about Donald Trump and what Donald Trump is doing. And we know there are a lot of folks who are upset, but who isn't planning to come, and bring them. And you can help double the march. If you want to triple the march, find 2 people, but that's a bonus. Just bring one. Each one of us is going to bring one extra person, and we will be astounded at the cumulative effect. The third thing to do is to engage with your newspaper, your local newspaper, or the one that's as closest to you as you can get in this rural area. I want you to write a letter to the editor. Now, to do that, you would go to midcoastindivisible.wordpress.com and look for the menu item that reads Resources. Click on that and you'll see a place where you can find all kinds of ways to write a letter to the editor right now. It doesn't take long. These are typically 250 words or less. You can get your point across really quickly. And what would I like you to focus on? Well, of course, it's entirely up to you, free speech being what it is, and I want you to write in your own words, but one of the things we're upset about is the fact that we are organizing a town hall. This is going to be on April 20th, a Thursday, at 6:30 p.m., and that town hall is one that we've invited our senator to, Senator Susan Collins, and she has refused to come. In fact, she has refused to come to any public town hall in the entirety of Midcoast Maine. She's refused us twice, and we began asking her, 81 days ago, as of today. 81 days. We gave her a lot of time. And at first, she and her staff simply refused to communicate with us. And then when, after 71 days, we finally said, look, the recess is coming up now. We need an answer. That's when we got our big refusal. As a matter of fact, there are still some issues on which we're waiting to hear communication. It has been 67 days since we wrote and said, look, if you can't meet with us right now, fine, but you're in office until 2020. That's 4 years. Surely you have some time in your schedule. Could you please communicate with us the first day in your schedule in which you have an opening? And let's schedule a town hall for that time, a chance for you to listen to your constituents. You would think Senator Collins would want to do this if she was being a reasonable elected representative doing her job. And yet, it's been 67 straight days that she and her staff have all refused to simply answer that question. When's your first free day? Anytime between now and the year 2020, which is 1/5 of the way through the whole 21st century, if you think about it. So, if you're like me, and you believe that the job of an elected representative is to represent, and that you can't represent your constituents unless you listen to them, and that means that there needs to be some kind of answer when a constituent asks a question. Maybe you have something to write a letter to the editor about. If you're feeling that level of civic indignation that our Senator Susan Collins is being so uncivil and so disrespectful in the face of our legitimate, constituent, concerned questions, then please write that letter. And when you go to midcoastindivisible.wordpress.com and you look for that resources link, you find a letter to the editor for a newspaper, a way to submit one. You'll notice that there are a lot of area newspapers going as far north as Bangor, the Bangor Daily News, and Belfast Republican is a good one to go into, the Brunswick Times Record over to the west, and then the Kennebec Journal a little north of that. The Lincoln County News is a really good one, and the Rockland Free Press. A lot of people pick that up in the grocery stores. Pick one of those and just write one letter to the editor. And if each one of us does that, that is going to accomplish two things. The first thing is it's going to guarantee that we get some representation in the newspaper. We're going to get the word out if the last thing you write is, by the way, for those of you who are upset like me, you can come to the town hall on the 20th of April and you talk about where and when it is. We can get the news out about that. The second thing is that those newspapers are going to figure out, hey, this is a big event. It's worth maybe bringing some people out as journalists to cover the event and see what happens. If you can do those three things, come to the tax march, bring another person to the tax march, and write a letter to the editor. And if each one of us does that, just those three simple things in this next week, you'll be astonished at the cumulative effect it has. I wish you luck carrying those three things out. And of course, I also would like to see you come to our meeting, which is this Wednesday, which would be Wednesday the 12th at 7:00 p.m. in Watts Hall in Thomaston. That's right on Main Street, right on Route 1. Coming by at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and we're going to finish our organizing for the tax march. Or just nail down a few details and start looking forward to that town hall on the 20th. I'd love to see you there, and keep those three actions in mind. I'll be checking in with you personally on Wednesday. Thanks.